over really speed mechanics and going in depth into speed mechanics when it comes to team training. Thank you guys for coming on. I do want to start off by saying I was thinking about this morning. I was working out a little bit, and just to get a little bit of more motivation. I know this is a little bit later than typical. Had a little bit more time in the afternoon here, and figured I would go ahead and hop on a live. I was ready to do it earlier today, but then I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's change it up a little bit. Let's get connected to some people a little bit later on in the day. And so that's what we are doing. I'm trying to make it so this thing turns off or doesn't make as much noise, but can't even figure that out. So the main thing that I was talking or that I was thinking about this morning that I think would be a great thing to be able to start off with a little bit of that motivation that I think we all need is, really when it comes to differentiation, really standing out. I remember when I was in high school, right? Always feeling like there's like an issue with me. And in some ways, it ended up being a great thing to be able to have this experience where I felt like I wasn't as funny or as social. And it was just difficult for me in ways to be able to fit in, right? I always felt like I was a bit of an outcast. So it was difficult for me to connect. It was difficult for me to really feel a part of a group wholly and truthfully. And as I got older, I realized that that was not a flaw, was not something that was wrong with me, right? Because this got me into like this self development part of my life where I just always wanted to figure out ways to be funnier or to connect better, or thought that there was something that I needed to work on in order to actually achieve the I guess level of popularity, to get more friends, to just be able to socially connect with people better. But the more time that I've had with myself, and the more I've been able to really understand that I was not the issue there, that wasn't my problem. It was really that I was the reason I didn't fit in is because I am different, was because I have a certain set of standards and a certain belief within myself and what I can accomplish, and wanting to be able to do more, right, and be able to listen to books and build a business and make the commitment into developing fully as an individual, right? Because a lot of times, the more I've again, the older I've gotten, the more I realize that I have had a bit of this edge to me of wanting to do something bigger for a long time, right? It's been, when we were running sprints, I've always wanted to be first place. When we were doing, punishment for burpees, I've always wanted to be the first one up. I've always had that knack of challenging myself in a way that I think might be unique and or is unique. I want to lean in to the uniqueness, and that's why I wanted to start off with this live and talking about this, because I know there's people that are out there that feel that way, that feel like there might be something wrong with them, that feel like they are outcasted, right? And this is a place, right? And I want to create a safe space for you to be able to come to and really feel like you are a part, right? That you are a member of something that is bigger than just quarterback mechanics or running mechanics or sprinting mechanics. It's just development, but in general, right? And a commitment to being the best version of yourself that you could be, and achieving more and doing more. And I think no matter what level that this ends up going to in terms of the development of the business, in terms of what we're able to achieve from a impact on athletes, there will always be that challenge where it's like, how can we take it to the next level, or how can I take it to the next level? How can I continue to be a better version of myself? And that doesn't make it so you are different, or that you are there's something wrong, or that there is anything other than leaning into your own greatness, right? Leaning into those parts of you, and not backing away, right? I fell more into wanting to be popular and not following my goals and not achieving the things that I really felt I should have achieved, because I put the opinion of others and the wanting to fit in and wanting to be more social and wanting to be more like everybody else. And I made that more of my commitment. And, again, the older I've gotten, especially this year, I've really wanted to take a step back and say, uh, I am going to embrace who I am and what I stand for, and the things that really separate me as a individual and as a person, and really try to bring out as much of my inner greatness as I can, and make that a consistent journey of bettering me, and therefore bettering you and bettering the performance lab in general, right? The business, the message, the ability to impact on a greater and greater level. So thank you guys for watching. I know that was a long rant. I know you guys are here to learn a little bit more about team training, and how to get your team faster in general. But I wanted to start off by saying that, just so then we can, I wanted to get that off of my chest. So yeah, we're going to go into the, this is a group of athletes we worked with this weekend. We'll go into a few of what we're seeing here, a few of the improvements, as well as go into what we're going to be able to work on within some of the athletes to help them in, getting better moving forward. So we have two athletes, or the same athlete here, but two different views. I was trying to give the guys different angles, and you can see here on this side, we can zoom in. Essentially what I ended up doing, and I think this ended up being a little bit later when we actually see this, but I was recording the video, right? Not everybody has this opportunity, but I was going over the information on the TV, right? And so you can get personalized with your team no matter what. Obviously, not everybody has the TV, but everybody has the ability to create some level of personalization. I do it for teams in different ways. Other than this, I can just go over, with the projector or something on those in that regard, or I could also do it in ways that are just having an individual come over and show something specific that I want them to work on within their technique. And this really gives the opportunity to get specific results. Because I think at the end of the day, the more personalized we could be, the better we're going to be for the team in general. So how can we get those fast results, that fast information? And I think this is a great way to be able to do it. It took me probably about 5 minutes to go over all of these 20 kids. Had them go through the run, then, had them do it a few different times. This is probably about 30 or 40 minutes into the session. So they are already tired, have already gotten a workout, have already been able to work on a lot of things. But given this space, we really don't have the opportunity for all of them to be able to sprint. So we're sprinting here because it's just one little long corridor where they're able to get a little bit more steps in. So now that you know the background here, you can start to be able to see more of the video in general. I want to be able to actually move the video here, but it won't let me. All right, here we go. Sorry, now I got to zoom back all in. And even when you're doing this, right, if you're like a coach or a trainer or something like that, like the parents loved when seeing how the whole coaching aspect. But so we can see here with this guy on the right how he was really lifting his chin, right? The first step, he was taking an extra step, right? And then he was lifting up with his chin. And, this might seem like something that is easy to correct, but I literally told this kid 4 different times the same thing, where I actually had to get to the point of showing him, like, this is your chin being tucked. This is not your chin being tucked. So look at it. This is me really literally explaining to him, like, this is what you need to be doing with your head. So then we can get you to be able to correct that particular thing. He still had a bit of a false step there, but much better position when it comes to running and ability to get himself into the right spot. This one's going to be kind of hard to see from the side, but essentially what he was doing was continuing to cross over his legs. So he was not able to, and I wish we could have gotten better within that first step with him as well, but he just kept on going with his leg crossing. And so, one of the main things that we talked about, we did a specific drill for him, was to be able to understand that the whole knees coming in and then landing more to the outside. And so we went very specific into that for him, so then he can get into a better feeling of where he wants to be when he's running. So he's not crossing over so much with his steps, and he's able to land a little bit more on the balls of his feet. And again, I want to be able to go over this as quickly and efficiently as possible. I'm not going to go over every single kid here. There's some guys that I think are able to get more benefit than others. And I also think that being able to, I don't want to give you guys, I don't want to bore you too much here, but I do. The idea here is to kind of show you one, that being able to help a whole group of players and being able to see that this is the main part of the mechanics, and this is what you need to work on, right? Like athlete A, athlete D, athlete F, like not that I was calling them by those names, but making it so it's very specific, like this is your thing. Because especially with this group of athletes, when you're giving them so much information, and that's the main thing that I pride myself on, is trying to educate the kids and the athletes and what it is that they need to be doing. But when you give them so much stuff, they don't know what to apply and what is for them and what's not for them. And I try to be able to make it as clear and understanding as possible, but it's just impossible until you actually show the specific results. So, this kid was getting much better as he went. He just started off so long and so much on his heels when he first started. And we really wanted to be able to give him the understanding of how to be able to land a little bit more on the balls of your feet instead of being stuck so far back, kind of behind with your, running form. I know it doesn't look too bad here, but when you're watching it, you can just see that he really doesn't get through his contact time nearly as well as he could, and really is getting off the ground way too long. And a lot of that has to do with where he's landing on the foot, right? So if we land more forward, that helps us as being able to get the foot off the ground sooner. Where when you land and are slow with that transition, now you're going to end up having a inability to generate any type of quickness. So, especially for his height, what he wants to be able to work on is really trying to get as quick as he can and getting the foot down, and transition to the next step. So then he doesn't end up getting stuck with the foot being on the ground too long, because that ends up being a big problem for athletes. Is if you are especially taller athletes that, when you watch them run, it's like, man, their legs are just turning over so slow. Typically, it's not as much about leg turnover as it is actually about foot contact time. And so we want to be able to understand is that the ability to really understand ground contact and how to strike the ground and how to utilize the feet is something that you are going to have a constant level of improvement in, right? There's never a point where it's like, okay, now I got how to be able to contact the ground. But I know for a fact, and I know within my own ability, that by making a consistent effort in improving that lower part of my leg, that lower half of my leg, it's led to some tremendous results as a athlete in a wide variety of ways, because it's really allowed me to not only improve my speed by striking the ground more effectively, but also has helped me in being able to accelerate and decelerate, because I have a better understanding of where my balance is and where my range of motion is. And the more you can get connected into your feet and into your toes, and understand that part of your overall body, the better you're going to be. Cole, thanks for coming on, man. I hope all is well, dude. I haven't heard and talked to you for a while. I just saw the comment there. It looks like you left us something on YouTube. I don't know if you're still in here. Hopefully you are. Hope all is well. I know you mostly are in the quarterback stuff. This one's a little bit more speed specific. But anyway, the main thing that we want to be able to look at in this one is just that right arm, right? And seeing what he was doing with his right arm. Now, what ended up happening within this rep wasn't perfect, but at least he felt it for the same, because this one was the same thing, right? You can watch me here. I'm like showing him, like, do the right arm, like try it out, like pull with your right arm and, take a step, right? Pull with your right arm, take a step. This is what you need to do. Twist, pull, step, right? Twist, pull, step. And then when you can see he's here and he still has kind of a weird thing that he does with his right arm. Okay. But it's a little bit better than what he was doing before with his right arm. At least he got to be able to feel it, where he was like reaching out here and then pulling back from this position. So at least he's able to get a little bit better there. And honestly, it made it so he got into a spot where now he's a little bit more horizontal in his movement pattern. So instead of being straight up and straight vertical here, he's a little bit more overall horizontal in the action. So this is a little bit more vertical, And compared to here, where he's more horizontal, what I mean by horizontal is that if we look at his like shin angle, he has more of that shin facing down towards the ground at toe off, right? Which ends up being the goal, right? We want to be able to get that toe all the way down to toe off, or to the lowest angle as possible at toe off, in order to maximize our horizontal action, especially at the beginning, right? Especially when we're taking those first few steps, we want to be able to understand that shin position and the importance of that in the range of motion of the ankle, and where the direction of the body ends up going. So the more effective we can be at getting that shin down and getting our knee forward, right, and foot up, and then being able to strike from that position, the better off we're going to be. And then it's just going to be about replicating it, right? So some of these kids are guys that I haven't had the opportunity to teach very much, or go over very much film with. And some of them I've had the opportunity to go over a lot more stuff with them, and we could see a lot better overall results. So and we'll be able to see that. I'll just go to that one actually after this. So here, really a big inefficient first step, right? So the idea here is the baseball group is we're at first base, we're leading off, and we're stealing, right? Like we're trying to work on is your ability to get faster at stealing. And we can see how inefficient that first step was. Instead of here, now he's turning and running, and he's doing a much better job of not lifting his legs, just getting his knees right up and through. I'm pretty sure this was the brother of that other kid that we were looking at before. We could see, before he wasn't, and he was already not bad with his ability to stay a little bit more horizontal, but he was really poor with his reach, right? Look at how much better his reach is here than it was when he first started. He's just not getting that same ability to generate horizontal force, and really be able to get into a good position of being able to maximize foot strike into the ground, right? The better we could do is getting our toes up, right? That was one of the main things we talked a lot about with these guys, is let's get our toes up and let's pull the foot back, and let's be able to strike from that position, instead of being lackadaisical or inefficient with our toes, inefficient with our feet, and not being able, I shouldn't say lackadaisical, that's kind of mean. But instead of being, inefficient with our toe strike. Okay. We're going to go to Dylan here. He's fast, and you will be able to even see some of the things with him. And I did this first with a small group of him and probably like 3 guys with this team. Right. And we really were able to get specific in what it was that they needed to work on. And so what that gave me the opportunity, or what that showed me, I was even asking the coach afterwards, like, have you taken him to any other like speed coach? Have you guys been doing anything else? Because he looks so much better than he did before. I think I actually did a video with him in it, and kind of showcasing some of the things that he was doing wrong with the start. And now we can see, so this was at the beginning when he first started, but you can see how much more efficient of a lean that is in that first action, in that shin position, right? So compared to some of these other guys that are just kind of getting into some of the speed development. So, what ends up being the big thing with him now is, from this first one, is like, hey, instead of being so concentrated on staying down, right, and making it so we are not able to build our speed. Like, look, see how he starts to get like his hips are back behind, and he starts landing flat footed, and he's not getting his hips through. Like, let's get our hips through. Let's continue that action of being able to continue to accelerate. So we could see here how much better he is at getting his hips through, and how he's able to just get right through that phase of acceleration into that drive phase, where he's really getting into and this is probably like a similar step from 2 different angles, and we can see the length of that knee when striking on one in comparison to the other, and also just the ability from a athlete perspective to be able to take that feedback and take that information and then properly apply it. So now, by the time he gets to 7 or 8 steps, he's really starting to get closer and closer to his top speed. Because what we see is that when you start your when you have your first 2 to 4 steps, let's say, and you're beginning to accelerate, you really have to do a great job of being able to transition from the kind of start phase. Those first 3 quick steps that need to be quick, that don't necessarily need to be picking up a lot of distance, but need to help us in being able to set up some of the important body positions, right? We need to be able to get from there into the ability to really understand the drive phase, right? And consistently building speed. Okay. So we don't want to get stuck in the start phase and, like, head down, hips back really quick with our stride distance or our stride length. We want to be able to start opening up that stride. So now we're getting into a position where we are essentially getting closer and closer to top speed, right? So the drive phase is different than the start phase. And I like to make it so there's three different phases, because in that drive phase, it's a consistent action of gaining more and more speed and improving or changing or altering the position of the body. So we start with in the start phase, which is a very, very distinct position within the body, where our chest is going to be facing down, our hips are going to be as much underneath the foot as possible. But the reality is our hips are going to be significantly behind our head. And as we go through the drive phase, we are taking consistent action of getting the spine up, getting the head up, getting the body up. And how I like to define it in terms of the technique and the speed and the sequence, because I think the sequence ends up helping, is that first we want to be getting great at getting our feet through, getting our toes through, and developing that rhythm there. That first step, get that toe through as quick as possible. And then from there, we want to be able to get the knees through, right? And then the hips through. Okay, so that ends up being the sequence, right? Foot, knee, hip. Okay, and then from there, now we want to be able to get into our chest coming up. Then we want to go into our chin coming up, right? So foot through, knee through, hip through, chest up, chin up. So our chin doesn't want to come up before our hips are coming through, right? Because that ends up being the main thing that I see is people want to lift up without getting their hips through, right? So this makes it so now you're stuck with your hips back. It's way more difficult for you to get into top speed when you do this, right? And this is a prime example of somebody that I'm like, look, you keep on hitting your chin, you keep on lifting your chin, like, let's work on lifting your chin. Actually, the one that he did before, or sorry, on the left here is going to be the action. He did better with some of the other parts, because he started working on some of the other things, and then he went and popped up his chin on this one. So, I wanted to show a later one, and I had to make a choice. But like this kid, you could see some of the things that he worked on, where it's like, let's be able to get those hips through. Let's not be so focused on getting down. And he started to be able to get it a little bit. There's different coordination levels, there's different connection levels, but even that to me is a big change, right? The reason I say that is because now you could see that he's understanding the difference, right? The first thing in being able to get a actual learning response is we have to be able to go from unconsciously incompetent, right? Or incompetent, unconsciously knowing or unconsciously aware of what we're doing wrong. I have no idea we're even doing it wrong, right? So now when you get on the video, when you start to see the difference between it being right, it being wrong, now we can start to be able to get an actual improvement, right? So even though that was not a great start at all in any means, I would much rather him be in this position right here than this position right here. Okay. And, because we can see the difference, right? At least from here, he's going to be able to get a little bit more open. And at least from here, now he's going to be able to work on it and start to feel like some of that awkwardness that he went through. But before, he had no idea why he felt this weird and this limited in his movement, because he was never really taught what were the issues, right? And so once you can start to be able to connect with them and show them, like, your arms, your legs, where you're landing, like, let's work on some of these things. Now they can see it and they can connect to it. And now they can go from at least unconsciously incompetent to consciously incompetent, where now they recognize, shit, I am not very good at this. I need to improve within my chin position. I need to improve within my chest position. I need to improve within a certain area of the body, or whatever ends up being the case. And so the first thing that we have to be able to do in order to help our team get faster, in order to help our athletes get faster, is establish that ability to have some degree of accountability, some degree of a recognition, making so they can recognize the difference between when they're doing it incorrectly and not doing it, or doing it correctly. And that's what we're doing here with the video. That's what we do within the testing of their speed, right? Being able to get the free lap system going and show them within that like, hey, look, this is where you're off. This is where you can get improvement there, and really build it from there. So just wanted to be able to help you guys if you have a team that you're working with, or show you some quick examples of when you're working with a group, some ways to be able to get guys fast in the fastest way possible. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys that were on here the entire time. I know this is not necessarily the most popular of topics, but I do still think that there's a lot of great information on there. I hope you guys enjoyed the beginning part of it, especially. I thought there's a lot of cool things there. So, yeah, when you guys are, if you're watching this later on, like, subscribe. If first time watching me, or learn anything about me, would be happy, or would love to be able to answer any questions, be able to connect with you guys more. Thanks for watching. As always, check out some of the other stuff that we have content wise. We've really been producing a lot lately. I hope you've been enjoying it. If you guys have any recommendations or anything like that, I would love to hear them. And thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.